Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's talk about what is happening to this stock. Are we finally going to get some level of a more, of an explosive move, or are we still pretty much going to be doing a whole lot of nothing? I'll give you my thoughts. If you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts on the charts, etc., well, I do share my thoughts with the members every single day. The market is open. Definitely check that out as the market is trading, constantly sharing posts, updates, mainly on Tesla stock in the first tier for just $3 a month USD, or $5 a month. Also gives you access to the NVIDIA version as well. So Tesla plus NVIDIA. $7 gives you access to both of those, plus non-Tesla, non-NVIDIA charts I share when I see opportunities. And I do membership on Discord. I do member stock requests over the weekend if you're interested. It's like a bit of a mouthful. But anyway, jumping into it, NVIDIA, nice humble day. Honestly, relative to the market, not the worst thing in the world though. Up a nice humble 1% on the day. Closing, importantly enough, finally getting a daily closure above 145. This is the first daily closure it's gotten above 145 for quite some time, right? So this is a good sign. Now, it doesn't mean it's perfect, right? There's always risk, right? You have to understand there's always a risk. This could be a false breakout. This could be a liquidity trap. There's always this risk. And I'll go over what to look out for and, to try and alleviate those risks to a certain extent. It's not financial advice, of course, keep in mind, which is just my opinion. But this is the first daily closure above 145 on NVIDIA after like a lot of chop, substantial chop, like a week and a half of chop, maybe even 2 weeks, honestly, at this point of chop, a lot. The point is quite a bit. And we did mention many times that, NVIDIA, despite breaking that trend line, which I think it's actually still, it's still actually under, but we mentioned many times how, we have the bearish divergences, right? Even on this new indicator, I replaced the RSI with this. It's called the Stochastic Momentum Index. Same idea in terms of divergences, but you can see the divergences are still present. There's no question about that, right? And this is a good reason why, we haven't really been doing a whole lot here for like a while, right? It's like 2 weeks-ish, right? We've been pretty much within the same range for a long time, for a very long time. And that's sometimes what these divergences do, right? Divergences don't necessarily mean the stock is straight up just bearish and it's going to go all the way down. No, not sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it most often means the fact that there probably isn't that much more upside left. There still could be some, but probably not anything to write home about, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that's clearly what's been happening. However, we have officially broken above 145 and we have gotten a daily closure above 145. What does this mean? Well, going to the 1 hour very quickly, as long as, in my opinion, 144 is maintained at least in the 1 hour time frame. You can see 144 is right here. Let me just draw it out for you so you can see where 144 is exactly. 144 is pretty much right here. You can see we never really closed a 1 hour candle below. We went below the range. We absolutely went below 144, but we never closed a 1 hour candle below 144. And the stochastic on the 1 hour remained pretty much above 60 the entire time, which is good. That's a good sign. This to me says that this was just a huge amount of liquidity traps happening around here. A lot of people were, getting bearish most likely, seeing it go down the slope, probably entering puts just to get squeezed back up, right? This is why, I'm not in a rush and I prefer to, more often than not always, but more often than not, I like to wait for candle closures to avoid these kind of situations. Because if you didn't wait for candle closures, you probably got trapped in a bearish trade pretty much down here, right? This is why those candle closures are important. Now, obviously, sometimes you can miss the move, or you can take too long, or you are forced to sell much lower versus just having a stop loss in place. Blah blah blah. There's always a risk versus reward scenario for any situation. For instance, if this was actually a correct move, then you were correct to enter the bearish move here, and you would have profited pretty nicely. So there's always a give and take in terms of risk levels, if you will, and potential reward relative to it. But again, to be safe, sometimes waiting for those candle closures is important. We never got those below 142. Instead, now we're getting them above 145 for the first time in quite some time. It got pretty close here, but this is a lot more convincing, but more importantly, especially on the daily. So again, what does this actually mean? Well, this, unlocks the potential to fill this fair value gap more cleanly, if you will, to about 147, maybe even closer to $148 per share. But honestly, my main target will be closer to 147, about $2.50 from here, which, isn't crazy, right? Again, we still have those bearish divergences. I don't think NVIDIA has that much juice left. Still, despite this, bullish close above, I still don't think the stock has that much juice above, right? So I'd personally be watching for 147/148 as my main level. If we break 149, then I think closer to 152 with this fair value gap over here is the next target, personally speaking. But again, despite the situation unfolding as it is, I'm still kind of questioning how much juice the stock still has with those divergences, right? At some point, it will need to pull back. At some point, it'll have to attract fresh buyers, fresh, people, bulls, essentially, if you will, waiting for the stock, right? That's just kind of how things move, and that's just kind of how things work. But we're not there yet. So, we'll talk about it when we get there. What will make us get there? We know what signs will make us go there. Well, if we start closing 1 hour candles below 144, that's a bad sign in the sense of being a massive liquidity sweep. That is a possibility. We're not there yet, but just something to think about. Also, we still have the 8 exponential moving average. You can see it's been holding NVIDIA up almost every single candle. The only candle that was a little bit questionable are these two, right? But they pretty much closed right at it, right? Pretty much right at it, which wasn't convincing enough. Like I said, we need like an actual close below, like a more convincing close below to signal that momentum most likely has at least stalled more significantly. It never did. It just continued grinding this 8 exponential moving average up on the daily pretty cleanly, similar to Microsoft. Microsoft is doing the exact same thing, right? It's also had this, random candle, if you will, right over here. But other than this, anomaly, if you will, yeah, same thing, right? Same thing. Microsoft is doing the same thing on the daily. It's just hugging that 8 exponential moving average, and it's just making its way up slowly but surely. Also, though, making those bearish divergences, and in fact, actually getting a bearish MACD cross on the daily. So if I had any Microsoft here that I was holding, especially from down here, I would at the very least be looking to trim, if not looking to sell cover calls, at least, in my opinion, not financial advice. But just to show you an example of something else that looks similar to that, NVIDIA hasn't actually gotten that full bearish crossover. If this actually does happen, and if NVIDIA doesn't get a meaningful move to the upside sooner than later to divert this potential imminent bearish crossover in the MACD, yeah, we're still chilling, right? Technically speaking, all 3 of my bullish indicators are still flashing bullish. Above all the EMAs are flip bullish, and especially we're continuing to hug above the 8 exponential moving average. That's a thumbs up. Stochastic above 60, that's a thumbs up. MACD is still technically bullish, right? It's still technically bullish. It's still crossed to the bullish side, though. It looks pretty imminent of a bearish crossover. That's a thumbs up. So again, you have to understand, whenever I sound potentially somewhat bearish on NVIDIA, like especially when I talk about those divergences, it doesn't mean that the stock is literally bearish. It just means that this momentum to the upside most likely isn't anything, it's not going to be anything too fierce or anything too crazy, right? There's a very, very big difference because the stock, like I've said many times, is still bullish. It's undeniably bullish. I don't see how you can look at the stock and think it's bearish. The only thing that could be quote unquote bearish, like I said, is just how much juice is there left before eventually it will get a bullish, keyword bullish, retrace back down, just to most likely, of course, continue higher after that, right? So very different things, but that's what I'll be looking for moving forward, right? As long as it maintains 1 hour candles above 144, yeah, I would look for about 147, maybe 148 as my main target short term. However, if we lose 144 on the 1 hour, start closing candles below that, I'd of course watch for about that 142, and then of course a daily candle closure below 142 most likely means at the very least we come see the 21 exponential moving average, but I would be surprised if we don't come a bit lower, closer to about the mid to low 130s, where the 50 EMA is going to be sitting, and then the exponential moving averages kind of come back in, converge, get tighter, and then we start looking for that next opportunity that most likely will start presenting itself. Maybe something like a bull flag, whatever the case may be, some pattern will most likely start forming, and then we can of course sniff it out and proceed as usual. But again, especially sometimes on NVIDIA, it takes some time, right? It takes some time. But yeah, all in all, stock is absolutely bullish regardless, again, even if we get a pullback. So things are still looking pretty damn solid for NVIDIA, in my opinion. But that's kind of that more short-term analysis as well. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. Take a quick look at options flow, see what we can find over here, if anything worth mentioning. Very, very bullish call flow, actually. So some bearish call flow happened over here, but towards the end of the day, we had some nice bullish call flow for July 25th and August 8th for 142 strike calls. Very nice call flow there. 1.8 million, 150 strike, 1017, and some more bullish call flow towards the end of the day. So yeah, the stock, especially on the break and close above 145, as long as it doesn't close back under pretty much 144 to give it a bit of leeway, it looks good. It looks good to 147, maybe 148. Yeah, I definitely think it looks pretty solid to those levels. But again, that's not that much higher from here, at least so far. It's only like 1 to 2% higher. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it just moons to 160. Who knows? Who knows for sure? But anyways, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow, or see you on Friday. Market is closed tomorrow. Peace.